Thank you very much. You're very gracious and kind. Thank you. Thank you. In response to the Iranian regime's brutal crackdown on the 2009 public protest against that very fraudulent presidential election, your beloved Iranian poet and patriot, Samin Behbahani, wrote the following. "Stop," she said, "this extravagance. Stop the reckless throwing of my country to the wind. Stop the screaming, the bloodshed, the mayhem. Stop doing what makes God's creatures mourn in tears." As she anticipated retaliation for her exercise of what she believed was her civil right and her civic duty to challenge authoritarian evil, she courageously observed the following. "You may wish to have me burned or decide to stone me, but in your hand, match or stone will lose the power to harm me." The Ayatollah and his hand-picked leaders have been throwing the great country of Iran to the wind since 1979. We all know the regime hasn't changed its behavior since it duped the Western world into lifting sanctions and depositing $100 billion in the central bank of terrorism. We all know the Iranian regime's tentacles have choked, tortured, raped, and murdered domestic political opposition, that they are the epicenter of Middle East instability, the ongoing genocide in Syria, and the chaos in Iraq. Now is the time, today and at this place, for the world to recognize that since the behavior of the leaders in Tehran won't change, it's time to change the leaders. Now is the time for free democratic societies to unite in support of free Iran, a democratic Iran, a republic based on universal suffrage, the guarantee and protection of civil and human rights, the separation of church and state, the rule of law, and peaceful coexistence with its neighbors. No doubt there are small groups in Iran organizing and praying quietly and praying privately for regime change. I suspect most, if not all, would endorse a republic based on these principles. The NCRI has created the single most visible, most credible, and most effective democratic movement with a clear and specific platform to bring a democratic Iran to existence. And I'm proud to join you and Madam Rajavi in support of that goal. This extraordinary organization, under the steady hand and inspiring leadership of Mrs. Rajavi, has resisted the regime's murderous efforts to silence, no, yet exterminate the opposition. And we all know that all of their tools of repression, stones or matches, have lost and will continue to lose the power to harm or quash this movement toward democracy. Another fearless leader in the face of constant threats, Indira Gandhi, once observed, "Martyrdom doesn't end something. Martyrdom is only the beginning." There are nearly 125,000 martyrs whose deaths are both a powerful signal to the regime that the fight for freedom will not be silenced, and an appeal, a loud and sustained appeal to the rest of the world, to democracies everywhere, to press for regime change, so that those who have died and sacrificed, that their sons and daughters, husbands and wives can live in a free Iran. There are those who claim that a democracy cannot thrive in a Muslim world, yet 40% of the world's Muslim populations lives and contribute to democracies everywhere. The democratic notions of consensus, consultation, and independent reasoning are embedded in Islamic law. These notions speak to the opportunity to create a democratic society in a Muslim country, and we all say, let that country be Iran. Over the years, I have talked with family members of the martyred. I've been privileged to spend time with former Ashraf and Liberty residents in Albania, and have devoted time to learn and to work with Madam Rajavi and her entire committed team in both Europe and the United States. All of us in this room must renew our commitment to the Iranian people, that we'll be tireless in our efforts to support Mrs. Rajavi and all Iranians who favor freedom over repression, human rights over human suffering, the rule of law to Sharia, and democracy over tyranny. I cannot think of a more dramatic and effective way to subvert and undermine the message and efforts of global Islamic terrorists and extremists, and to demonstrate to the global community, and in particular the Muslim world, that the theocratic, murderous, tyrannical regime of Iran has been replaced with a free, democratic Iran. The world would be a better place, a safer place, a more stable and peaceful place with a regime change. It's time for all of us and those who throw and support a democratic Iran to help the Iranian people, throw the Ayatollah and his religious dictatorship. They need to be thrown to the wind for a free Iran.